another episode of the Going Over podcast. It is your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. Pow, pow, pow. Hoodies on today. It's starting to get a little chilly outside. And I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And Paul, how are you? It's early. I'm tired. I'll answer for myself.
I'm doing good, man. I know it's not Thanksgiving yet, but I've been kind of thinking back on the year and things that you appreciate, and I don't know, just having an appreciation for certain things. So not only are we collectively growing our promotions and taking them to different cities, I feel like we're creating a better and better product that we can really be proud of. But also we've been making connections with people that you just kind of need around to, I don't know, to maybe so we don't take ourselves so seriously. And I think, our buddy Joey is pops into mind. Just a guy that kind of jumped into the scene and has provided us with hours of conversation and things like that. So shout out to Joey, for just being that guy, man, that we can have some good conversations about, and talk about what's going on in the pro wrestling business, and lead us into some topics for the podcast as well. So I don't know, man, I'm just thinking about that, and growing the business, and what we're going to be doing here in the near future as far as going to different towns, casino show, things like that. So looking forward, not that I'm overlooking the rest of this year, but I'm really looking forward to what's coming in 2026. I know you've got your schedule rolling already for 2026, and it's going to be a busy year for the both of us.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy year. One thing I wanted to talk about is it was a long weekend. So
Right.
we had Limelight on Friday. And then yesterday was the Salmon Fest. Coming off a long night, not much sleep for myself. I actually slept in. Thank you, All Pro Ethan Reno, for banging on my window and waking me up. I woke up very displaced with pillow markings on my face. I was sleeping that hard. Had to get down there, set up for that thing, run that thing, and then we headed up. Ran the trailer back, and then we were up to the Ugly Dojo. What really cool to me was I got to watch two of my students, Dickie Dakin and Ethan Reno, pull a trilogy this weekend. So I got to watch them main event Limelight. Then I got to watch them open the Salmon Festival. And then I got to watch them in Nevada City at the library for the Ugly Dojo wrestle each other. And all matches were different. So I wanted to talk about match placement, right? We talked about getting married before, but I wanted to talk about match placement. So the first night, these two are in a main event, and it's a draw. And Sparks the ref. Sparky was the ref both nights, and Sparky had so much feedback. I spent the weekend with Sparky in my promotion. So the first night is like Sparky said, they were kind of is this the aggressor? Is he the aggressor? They were kind of heelish about some things. And Sparky gave him some advice. And then yesterday they wrestled twice, and they opened the Salmon Festival. So they weren't supposed to wrestle one-on-one anywhere except the final place. But because of, some personal reasons and guys not being able to be there, so they opened the Salmon Festival, and that was an incredible match, right? Like, that was a perfect placement for these two, the opener. And then we went to the Ugly Dojo, and they went 6 on an 8-match card. And, a lot of people. It was a free event in the library. I couldn't believe how many people turned out, honestly, in Nevada City. I didn't think they liked anything but dreadlocks and growing marijuana in the Grass Valley, Nevada City area. But they love their wrestling, man. And they didn't, and the fans didn't look like wrestling fans. But what I mean by match placement, and there's more I want to talk about later because I learned a lot this weekend, was they went 6 and they followed the All Day Crew and the Gator Boys. So this was for, I believe, the Wrestling for Charity or Tag Team Championships. And it was a good athletic match. And then there was a springboard crossbody that took out the ref. So then there was then the baby faces got up, and the guy that works at the library came sprinting out in a ref shirt and made the 3 count, the big pop. And then they handed the belts to the baby faces. But then the original referee who got crossbodied came too, and he took the belts away, gave them to the heels, and now it's booing. And then they're back and forth. And then the female referee comes out and she gets the belts, and there's like a discussion. She gives them to the heels, and the heels get the belts by DQ because of the crossbody, the inadvertent crossbody to the original referee. And then they grab the popular guy that works at the library, and the heels double whip him, and he ducks under and double clotheslines him to a huge pop. So it was, all the elements were there in match 5 in that tag title match, and the place was hot. So then Reno and Dickey came out, and it doesn't become a popcorn match that we talk about. It becomes a settle down match, bring them back down match. And when you talk about match placement, so there's 8 matches on that card. They're running all the way through. It started out with a lot of people. Some people left, and I watched this happen all weekend, not just at that show, at our shows. But it's like, in that case, when you're running all the way through without an intermission, you don't got nothing to sell the fans. Dickey and Reno at match 6 becomes this popcorn match. I mean, not popcorn match, but this settle down match, right? So if there's an intermission, they can go to intermission hot like that with all those scenarios that were put in. And then when they come back from intermission, 6, 7, 8, Reno, Dickey can come out, and the fans are back in their seats, and then that match works in that spot. But a match 6 like that, that's a tough match for these guys to go out there when they're both kind of babyface, and they're going to be doing a more slower paced, connected wrestling style match. And there was a lot of situations in that. But what are your thoughts, Paul, about just sometimes, man, sometimes we think it's a good booking. We think it's good match placement or segment placement. And because I got more, trust me, I learned a lot this weekend, but we believe the segment placement's good. And then we look back at it and we go, fuck, man, I definitely put that shit in the wrong slot.
Right. Well, it reminds me of this idea that we had at one point, that we were going to go all the way to the border of Utah and West Wendover, and we were going to work 12 shows in 14 days. We were going to travel like the way that I anticipate that Billy Blade travels with his guys. You're in a 15-passenger van, you're towing the ring behind you, you set up in the first town. You have, since you're going to be running 12 shows, you've got 6 matches, and you're going to run the same 6 matches, but you're going to rotate the order, just how you're talking about match placement. So you understand what it's like. Like, what do you need out of the opening match? What do you need out of match 2? What do you need at the match that's right before intermission? What do you need when you come back from intermission? And then what does the main event have to look like? So I think it's a great thing that these guys got to work on all different parts of the card throughout the weekend. I mean, it's something that you have to become good at, right? You like to work the first match selfishly to kind of, get it out of the way. But also so you can help me out and you can come sit with me and go, hey, let's watch the rest of the show together and we can kind of critique it back and forth. And, oh, I would have done this. So, it's a good way for you to get it out of the way. It's also a good way for you to help the other guys gauge the crowd as well and kind of get the show going in the right direction, right? Start getting the fans to get off of their hands and clap their hands and make some noise and things like that. So understanding how to open a show, I think, is super important. Understanding how to be somewhere in the middle of the card, whether that's the match before intermission, the match after. If a show doesn't have an intermission, how do you kind of deal with that, both as a wrestler and a promoter? I think is important. And then understanding, we've talked 100 times about you don't know what it's like to wrestle in the main event until you wrestle in the main event, right? So I think all those things are super important, and I think eventually I would love to do that where you have you've got those same 6 matches all in a row like that. And just the way that you're talking about these two guys getting to wrestle 3 times in a row over a couple days span and different parts of the show and things like that. I think that is super. It's just invaluable experience where, it reminds me of like how WWE, when they did the house shows, you'd see, like, if you went to a house show, you would see these 2 guys wrestle, right? And then it's like, oh, hey, they ended up wrestling on Raw that same week or whatever, or the next week. And it's like they're out there and they're putting these things together. They're seeing what works, what doesn't work, things like that. And I think about how many times, you wrestle the same match with the same person, but you just make subtle changes to it to go, hey, last time you hit me with the sunset flip or whatever, and this time you're gonna hold on or whatever, and it's gonna be a struggle and something else is gonna happen, and you're just gonna maybe you drop down and hook my leg or whatever, so you can make little subtle changes to this same match to fit into different places on the card. So I think that's an awesome experience that these guys got to do that over this weekend. So what are some of the things that you said you learned from this experience? What are some of the things that you learned about moving forward?
Well, we had a lot of people at the Salmon Festival, and we ran 4 matches, and the last thing we were going to do was what we did on Limelight. So it was going to be Doc bringing out Sin, and I was going to bring out Bad News, and we're doing the whole promotion, get him in there, and we were going to do something at the end where Bad News is actually up dominant on Sin going in. And after the last match, the ring announcer got out of the ring and didn't get back in the ring to get the attention. And it's a festival. So, 600-700 people are piled around the ring watching the action, but they're there from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the latest for all these other events going on. We have an hour and a half slot. So if he's not back they're not there to watch wrestling. They're there for entertainment. They're there with their family. So it's a chance to get new fans, great advertising with the Orville Convention Center behind us. So if he's not back in the ring going, hey, ladies and gentlemen, if he's not directing their attention immediately and letting them know that something's next, then they scatter. They go, there's no door for them to walk out of. There's nothing. They just start dispersing down the stairs and off to food vendors and other music or other events. And that happened. So we didn't get to do that. And, Sin was pissed. Sin was pissed because He waited the whole time to do his promotional thing. Doc, myself, and Bad News. Like, I was over there running the music because the guy Buck was supposed to run the music, but he was off in La La Land. And I said, why don't you got your gear on? Your tag team partner has his gear on. So he went to put his gear on. So then when I walk out there with, 5 minutes before the first match and I queue up the first match, I realize there's nobody over there playing the music by the sound guy. So now I got to run over there and I got to take over this responsibility. So when this situation happens, I'm looking across the whole way at Doc just going, cut it. No, they're leaving. We can't get them back. And I will never, while the fans have already dispersed and there's only a few left, grab a mic and go, please turn around and come back and watch the next thing we're doing. So, that should have been placed maybe after match 1 or maybe after match 2. Maybe it should have opened before there was even a match. It was in the wrong placement, and I knew it. And the poor ring announcer, man, was just in tears. And he's young, and I had to go up to him and I said, hey, man, you did a great job today. Don't sweat it. Accidents happen, man. And I looked over at Angel Escobar, and I said, this motherfucker didn't even hit the record button 2 shows ago. And he had the lead camera. And he's like, yep, I did that. And I said, yeah. And I wasn't mad at him either. Mistakes happen. And like, he went up to Bad News because Sin had left, and he was in literal tears, sobbing. And I felt good and bad he was doing that. I felt good he was doing that because he cared so much. And I felt bad he was doing that because it's like, hey, man, it's not that big of a deal. Stop openly sobbing in front of the boys and everybody else. Tom Hanks told Gina Davis, there's no fucking crying in baseball. And he went up to Bad News, and Bad News is just sitting there chill. And he's like, you can punch me in the face if you want to. And Bad News is like, what? No, kid. Why would I fucking punch you in the face? And it's not a big deal. But the Maple Gramps Annabelle to the Unwanted pulling him out, which was another tag match like down at the dojo. And it turned into another tag match and mic work. And then they talked him in the building for the mixed 6-man tag team match they made for this Saturday coming up at Off the Chain. That match was the promotion. The flyer already says lights out match for the PCW championship. Sin, Bad News. It says one last time, Rick Luxury Primetime. So what the audience is going to see online, what they're going to see in the windows around the local stores and on the flyers and all the handouts that went, thousands of handouts that went to people yesterday and this whole time, it's already average. Like, you could make a video for both those matches on the flyer, but in reality, how many people are going to watch the video? Truly, is it a waste of time? They're already on the promotion right there, and they'll be on the match graphics. So Maple Gramps returning, that's what the women's, we gave them women's wrestling, and like for the first time in 2 years, brought out tag teams with them, turned it into a tag match, turned it into a big brawl with everybody, even the women. And now let's make Zack Bays on the mic saying, in this building next week, we dare you. I mean, next Saturday, the big one, Off the Chain, mixed 6-man tag, us 3 versus you. And the crowd's like, oh, Maple's back in her hometown. She got screwed here tonight. Now she's going to be with these guys in a 6-man. She's going to get her revenge next week. That was the promotion. To think that we were going to follow that to bring out 4 people and argue and build up another match, which is already promoted on the flyer. Bad placement on my part. I fucked up. I could have placed it. I should have placed it somewhere else, but I don't think we even needed it. Those fans just wanted an hour of entertainment. Oh man, we want more, because that's what they're saying. Well, that's all we get. Yep, that's all you get. About an hour. Now go do what the rest you're going to do. You got the flyer. Pre-sales were sold. I'm yawning you out. I'm sorry, but just the placement of that. I learned so much from these shows. I felt Limelight had great placement. So as a promoter, as a booker, as a matchmaker, I learned a lot this weekend about, fuck, I made so many mistakes myself this weekend. And how do you feel when you're booking this stuff? Because I know we run your stuff as a collaboration a lot of times. Do you feel that you're learning every weekend too from the way this stuff is getting booked and placed on the card?
Oh, of course, man. It's a learning experience for me, not only here in Reno running the promotion, but also when I go to your shows and kind of watch how everything uh, gets put together as well. I think is a good learning experience in general. So and obviously it's like then you get to see a Sergio Santana and how you I think you call him the Ricky Henderson of pro wrestling, for a really great reason because he's the leadoff guy, and he's doing a great job, getting setting up the show, getting the crowd involved in the show. Like I always think it is so important that the fans understand that it is okay to cheer and boo and be involved vocally in the show. I feel like you have so many people that and this goes back to a conversation that I feel like I have all the time when people are asking me about pro wrestling, right? It starts off with yeah, you know what, I used to watch that when I was a kid, and at some point I grew out of it, but then as you're talking wrestling with them, you start to realize they're still watching it right now because they're telling you about some sort of storyline that's going on TV right now. And, it didn't come out in the conversation to begin with because I think a lot of people are, it's still that taboo subject for some reason, right? Pro wrestling is awesome and it's huge, but there's still that little stigma about it, that you watch pro wrestling, right? And I just remember it when I was a kid and my dad said, that stuff's fake, right? I was like, no, it's not, Dad. Like just, trying to have that argument.
Paul, I'm gonna have to take the first ever
Timeout.
going over timeout. Keep going though. I'm gonna be
definitely.
back. I'm gonna be back in less than 2 minutes because this is the first Zack Reeb going over timeout. I'm about to poop my pants.
That's it, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So definitely, having the this stigma that pro wrestling is bad to watch, or it's embarrassing that you're a pro wrestling fan. I think sometimes gets thrown out the window when you start talking pro wrestling with somebody who can then go, okay, well, I like it too, and this is what I like about it, and start talking to you about things that are going on TV. So I think having the ability to go out there and get the crowd involved in a pro wrestling show from the opener of the show is definitely something that it's something to be proud of. And we need those guys that can kind of step into those situations. So I definitely think that I've been learning at my own shows and, coming to PCW and kind of seeing how it goes there. So definitely something that I feel like I've been learning moving forward. But definitely wanted to jump into, we've got people that are reaching out and, soliciting bookings, trying to get onto cards and, find spots where they're a good fit. So I feel like we've got a guy that here in town that's from Washington that was involved in your segment at the last show, where I thought like, gonna be in Reno and hey, what do you think about coming and training? So Cole Wright came and trained with us for a little bit and was on the show, and it's something that I really appreciate that people are reaching out and wanting to be a part of what we're doing. And I don't know how they go about finding out what's going on here and how I get these emails from people about wanting to work here. But it's exciting that just an explosion. It didn't
I'm
have to sit
in.
on, didn't have to sit on the toilet very long. It was just like
I
a
knew when
splash.
you sent me the link this morning. I was standing in the bathroom and the coffee was brewing
Right.
in the old Keurig. I knew when you sent that to me, I was like, dude, just take this shit real quick. Just go. And I was like, no, I'm gonna get through it. You know, get to it, get through it. And I started drinking the old coffee with a little bit of honey,
There it
mixed,
is.
mixed around. And that's I go back to the day when like Mike Myers was a fat bastard in Austin Powers, and you're just a young, impressionable kid or teenager watching that, and you're like, "Get in my belly!" And then he was like, "I got a turtle head, poking out," and you're like, "Oh," and then you realize because you're like, "Man, I just went to the bathroom, and it was a powerful pop of pudding coming out." You know what I mean? Good color placement, solid. You know, being sick a lot or something, you like to turn around. You know, coming off a recovery, you like to turn around and look at the job well done and go, is it solid? Was it a log? Is it too much? And then I look back and I was like, good placement. And then I felt a little bit of that T head poking through. And I'm like, no, not today. You don't got time because this could be a struggle. This could be a sphincter struggle to get that last little bit out. And I'm like, I'm just going to leave her in there right now because that wasn't what the problem was. The problem was the 12 when I was in Grass Valley, Nevada City yesterday. Me and Bad News went to get some food with Johnny Fuego, and we went to KFC because the hot wings are back, baby. And I was very excited when I heard the lady say it's going to be 10 minutes because we have to do a fresh drop. And I said, oh man, I said, there's nothing like the fresh drop, right? And those hot wings came back just better than they ever were. It reminded me of being a kid again. And every bite burned the top of my mouth, the roof of my mouth. It's like eating too much dry cereal and you just rip the top half of your mouth out. But I mean, it was great. And sorry to, but time in, Paul, time in.
Right. I was just going on a little tangent about people that are reaching out, looking to get booked. It just reminds me of a couple times you've told me about, someone reaching out to get booked, and then it is, oh yeah, no problem, I can get you booked. Here's a couple dates that I'm going to need you for. Ooh, I can make that first one, but not the second one, or I can make the second one, but not the first one. It's like, dude, you're reaching out to me trying to get booked, and then I give you some dates, but you can't make it. Like, what's going on here? Do you really want to wrestle here? Do you not want to wrestle here? So, but I feel like, we've had those people that are reaching out, and, sometimes I don't know what the expectations are. I think I sent you the couple guys that were trying to get booked, and it was going to cost us several $1,000s for two wrestlers. And I'm just like, what exactly are you thinking? Like, in your mind, how good are you? How, like, do you understand how this works? Like, if you have somebody on your card that nobody's ever seen before, you're probably not going to be a draw. Like, someone's not going to see you on a poster, and you're not some mainstream talent. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? There's Johnny Fireball. I think I want to come watch him. He looks interesting. I think I'm going to spend my money on this guy I've never heard of and come watch a show. So that's not how it works, man. I often will tell the people, and I think I've asked you as well, like, hey, what do you think about this guy? It's like, oh, are they going to be in town? Right? It's like, what's the reason for them to want to be on your show? Why did they search out your promotion, out of every promotion out there, to reach out to and say, hey man, I'm looking to get booked? The common sense reason says, hey, I'm going to be in, Yuba City, or I'm going to be in Reno, Nevada, or I'm going to be somewhere close by where I can easily get to your show. and I'd like to get booked. I'd like to work with you guys. But the majority of the time, it's I live in New York, or I live just like somebody that's from across the country. And it's like, okay, well, like, how are you going to get here? Oh, well, I just need this much in a flight and a hotel. And it's like, I have no idea who you are. Like, you
You think we're
you did
sucker fish?
you didn't send me a match. You just sent me hey, I'd like to get booked there. It's like, I don't know anything about you. So it just makes me laugh. And then ironically, I had sent you a video of somebody that wanted to get booked here, and then the guy hit me up again and, hey, are we still good for this date? And I was like, oh yeah, well, I didn't realize that you were serious about it. And he's like, very serious. It's like, oh well, shit, man. Most of the time we have a conversation about, you're going to fly yourself in, you're going to get yourself a hotel, you're going to work on our show. That's when people go, oh shit, this is going to cost me $500 or something. No thanks. But then you have other people that are, looking to get out there and get exposure. And to me, this is the highest compliment you can pay Samurai, is that he wants to wrestle, or wanted to wrestle so badly that he was going to fly himself out to promotions, and he was going to try to string together a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, in a state or multiple states or things like that. Those are those guys that are just trying to get out there and get experience and get repetitions and things like that. And I think that that's like one of those super cool things that, if you have the time and money to go do that, and you can go wrestle a whole bunch of different people, not only does it get you experience, but it also gets you connections where maybe that guy's going to be on the West Coast, and you can say, hey, remember when I came and worked for your promotion in Indiana? Why don't you come work here? And, you start get something going. I know there was a bunch of Texas guys on the SPW show a few weekends ago. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool, to get that networking stuff going on. It reminds me of the territory days, where, oh, I'm going to work in this territory, and then now I'm going to come to the West Coast, and I'm going to go work in San Francisco, and then I'm going to, head up to Portland and all those different things. So,
Well, they got like SPW has excuse me, Tim Thatcher and Jack Cartwheel. That they got the WWID thing going on over there. So different guys travel in. I know Terrell Tempo comes down, and he used to room with Nathan Brick, so he comes down and brings guys from Texas, from WCWF. I think maybe that's where those guys came from. Man, the excuse me, that ugly dojo card last night. Tim Rogan and Aiden Andrews was man, that was a good contest. Just like that tag match with all that busyness and dusty stuff at the end, that was a good contest. So, you look at like Tim Rogan, Aiden Andrews, man, we talked about him because he's a big kid. He looks like he's getting in a lot better shape. Southpaw, hits hard, sells well. The Bryce Kuza, I've always been really high on. I saw him yesterday, Cairo Leone. And then the Gator boys, like I was watching this stuff last night with a few of these ugly dojo and SPW guys, young guys, and really good, man. Like they have really good movement around the ring. So the exciting part of this, the spots and keeping it moving, and even if something goes to shit, I saw a lot of those guys rein it back in. Really good movement. The wrestling on the mat was really good too. So, shout out to Scootin' Samurai and Ugly and Oliver John, because I was all those matches. If you look at Rogan versus Andrews, and then you look at the Gator Boys versus the other two of the All Day Crew, Leone and Kuza, that's SPW versus the Ugly Dojo. So I mean, those guys are out there, like we talked about, they're out there taking a lot of bookings and they're working with each other at a lot of places. And that was the whole purpose of this weekend with Reno and Dickey. You know what I mean? Match placement we talked about. With that Rogan Andrews match, the only thing I could say about that was sell a little bit more. And I don't mean a lot more at all, but it's like Andrews would kick the shit out of the Rogan, and then the crowd would come up, and they were moving up with the crowd. It was a great crowd, by the way, too. A couple elbows off, and then he's fine running off the ropes to take the back elbow in the heat. But it's like, man, you were selling really. That is just a minuscule detail. I thought that was a great match. Actually, I thought those guys did a really good job. I didn't have a chance to talk to anybody because we left after Reno and Dickey's. Man, I'm tired, man. We had a long weekend. Appreciate the hospitality down there. Big crowd, but that tag match was good. So these young kids are, keep an eye on the Gator boys, man. Keep an eye on. I didn't get to see Abigail and Bishop. I didn't get to see Ugly's two kids because they were up next, and we left, and I didn't get to see Illumide and Matthias in the main event, but I know Matthias had all his family down there because that's where he's from, and he got a pop win in the Battle Royal. Sucked. The opening contest was a Royal Rumble type match, and the fucking top rope broke. And then I went back on and saw on some clips where it broke, and it broke where but Bobby Bayou, the big Gator Boy guy with Brian Joseph, he hits this back elbow in the corner to the big Matthias guy, and there's just so much meat hitting in that corner that just there goes the turnbuckle, man. Now you got a battle royal type thing where there's no fucking top rope. And that they made it through it, man. But like I said, I couldn't see much, man. There's the pillars in the way. So I know it's a free event, but God, and it didn't even look like wrestling fans. That were there, which is crazy. And they were just so into everything. That Low Devereaux came out and give me a boogie woogie, and they would yell boogie woogie before he threw a suplex, and he'd start shaking his knees and dancing, and they loved it. Great weekend. Salmon Fest. They loved it. Friday Night Limelight, man. They loved it. It's, your show last week, and they loved it. And for me, it's opening my eyes to see what's going on. So I was looking at yesterday, and I was like, I appreciated my guys being on the card. I did, because they got seen by quite a few people. But it's like, it was 8-match card. Did we really need my guys on the card, which I appreciated it. So, they were on the card. They got up there. I felt the placement of where they went with no intermission kind of, so that I thought that was the worst of their 3 matches. I thought their main event with the draw and the finish to put them both against Arsonist at Off the Chain this Saturday, I thought that was number 2. And I thought their opening contest at the Salmon Fest was number 1. So, 3 different scenarios for them. And everybody had that, like Buck and Bay this weekend. They had singles matches with different finishes. They had opportunities on a microphone. They had opportunities to come out and accompany Maple on the outside of the ring as like managers, and then they got to get involved in something. They got to set something up. They got to do a tag match. So it was like in 2 days, they got to do every aspect of the business. Buck got on the mic. Bay got on the mic. Both of them were involved in different finishes and singles matches. So a lot of experience this weekend, man. And I'm very passionate. About this. So a lot of times, like I was hyper focused on that finish in the tag match in Red Bluff, right? I was so hyper focused on they did too much when they could have done a lot less. They shouldn't have given the illusion that Buck and Bay won. They shouldn't have handed them the belts. They shouldn't have played the music, because if they're going to win the titles in the hometown, if it happens, you're initially taken away from the level of the pop that they could get by teasing that already for no reason when the chase is what they're looking at. But yeah, I was so hyper focused on that I was hyper focused because they were all mad at each other and about that. So I'm like, all right, let coach come in, put some simple stuff together, and let's have these guys run this type of stuff. And then they go out there and do it. And I'm pissed now because they're not doing anything I asked them to do. And because they're not doing what I asked them to do, it makes like Buck. I told Buck to bring Annabelle in the hard way, and he like reaches through the rope after fucking grabs her and yanks her in. And like me and Illuminate were talking about it. That was fucking heelish. You know what I mean? So they're doing that. They're doing stuff like that. And Sparky had suggested something to a few guys on both. He worked both shows, both Friday and Saturday. And he comes up to me and he's like, I had suggested something which he should never have to suggest. You should never have to suggest. And he said, they told me, yeah, that's okay. This is what Zack wants. And then I got everybody together after the show in this big circle. And I said, if he tells you to change something and do something, you fucking do it. If Rick, if Paul, if someone tells you to do it, you change it. But the biggest, most cowardice thing you can do, the scapegoat, gaslighting, deflecting, whatever, the biggest excuse that you can ever make is, yeah, no thanks, Spark. This is what Zack wants. Well, you didn't do what Zack wanted. You didn't do it. So why the fuck are you using that as an excuse? There's the first fuck of the show. Why the fuck are you going to make an excuse to this veteran referee? And I love this Sparky Ballard. I haven't seen this one. I love this Sparky Ballard who gives zero shits what you think. He gives zero shits. He's going to come up to you and tell you where you fucked up. He's going to tell you why. He's going to tell you what you should have done. And he's going to do it just straight-laced with no like excuses behind it. Like this Sparky Ballard that I'm getting to work with right now, ooh, I feel bad for you. Because you only get to see him at like an Oroville show, or if he shows up at a Red Bluff show. I get to talk to him every day and see him every weekend. And this guy is a fucking just a surgical machine right now, Paul. He's a surgical machine. Sorry about that long-winded rant.
No, I mean that's awesome to kind of, it's a great breakdown of how certain things on a show could be affect what else is going on. So I'm assuming that they fixed the top rope if the Battle Royal thing was first.
Yes.
So
Ref came out, popped it in, tightened her back up.
Sure. So I mean, it's one of those reminders that anything can happen during a match, and it just reminds me of Surza and Illumine. That was the one I was like, hey, have you guys ever thought about wrestling without hitting the ropes and things like that? So it's just, I think it's a great reminder of things that could happen, and and then it's good to think about like how your match is placed on the card and how that affects how your match is going to be, so that's awesome, and being able to, like I said about being able to wrestle the same people all weekend basically is a huge advantage, right? You get to kind of see the things that worked and the things that didn't, and you talked about in the tag match type of situation, and how many different scenarios you can create off of a tag match, whether those guys are wrestling singles against each other and somehow weaving in, the other partners, or adding in, the manager or whatever, things like that to create maybe a 6-man tag, things like that. I mean, there's so many possibilities of what can happen in different scenarios like that. Yeah, the Matthias guy, do we, how often do we get to see that guy up here in Northern California? I don't think I've ever seen him, Northern Nevada. But I wonder what is that guy's schedule like as far as getting up this way? I know that he wrestled Illumine shortly after Illuminate lost the SPW title and beat him. So
That's what I meant to say. You were talking about the usage of him, right? And
yeah.
I thought last night he was. I didn't stay for the main event, but I know how the booking operates when I'm watching a match when you're building. And I thought Ugly did the perfect job with him because the whole purpose to him and illuminating the main event was that's why they had the Royal Rumble thing. Was at the end he goes against the middle rope because top's obviously broken, and the two heels charge him, and he eliminates the two heels. But you almost forget during that Rumble, where did Illuminate go? Because he was in there. And then sure enough, the big pop happens and the family and everybody that knows him are up because they think he wins. And then you just see Illuminate pop back in and throw him over to win and get all the heat to open the show, which was very well done. So I'm assuming coming back in the main event, because Illuminate stole that Royal Rumble victory from him at the opening, that now Illuminate is going to put this guy over in his hometown. So, very good booking. God. Excuse me, everybody.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gone to die. No,
Yes,
but
very
so I
good.
mean you said it's good booking, but at the same time, is it I mean, what's the future for the guy? You know, is the guy coming back, or does the guy come into town and beat someone, and then now what do you do with the person that got beat? You know, now where does Illuminate go from there? So that was my first thing was, you know, with SPW come in, you have this guy beat Illuminate, but then it's like, okay, so now what do you do with Illuminate? The guy that just lost the title, and now you just wrestled this guy that's you know, is in your promotion one time,
Well, I
and
don't think
you
that
have
was good booking.
right,
Like, I don't think the SPW booking was the right booking,
right,
you know. But last night was, I don't think it was even being filmed, and it's
okay,
a free event, but there's so many people there. Like Ugly was telling me too. He's like, man, this library gets busy. I'm like,
right,
shh, keep it down, everybody. We're in a library. But
right,
I mean, he was right. That place was busy. I thought I was going up to watch a show, and I kept telling Ugly, I was like, man, I can't wait to sit with you and watch the event. And he's like, yeah, that'll be cool. And then I get there and I'm like, I don't think I could see this event from backstage the way the library is set up because I went back there a couple times.
right,
And then I went out to the crowd to watch it. I'm like, oh, I'll just sit out here and watch it. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I think I even sent you a picture. And I was
right,
like, God, there's a lot of people in this library. When we pulled up to the place, I'm not even playing. I had been by there at my old job, like doing something back in the day. And we pulled up to this place, and I'm like, God, this is beautiful. This is out in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? Like, I feel like I'm looking for deer in the back of a truck because we're
right,
gonna be, hunting. And I
right,
get there and we leave. It was a very quiet, like almost awkward, somber place when we walked in, say hi to everybody. And then we left for 25 minutes to go get my nuclear hot wings from KFC that I hadn't had in years. And when we came back, there was nowhere to park, and they were parking down the hill. And Bad News is kind of naive going up. Like, I see all the car, and he thinks he's going to pull right back up to the library and get a spot up front. And he's like,
right,
he looks around and he's like, good for them. Paul, I swear to God, I'm not lying. The show was about to start. The library was overflowed. And I saw families of people walking up the hill still,
right.
And a lot of people left too. A lot of people left after the first couple matches, and you were able to get a seat. But yeah, like I thought it was a good event. That's what I'm saying with the booking. It's like Ugly knew what he was doing at the start with the booking, and he knew where he wanted to close the booking because it's a one-nighter,
Right.
He did a good job with that. And I thought opening up with the Low Devereaux kid, that kid's entertaining. He's very entertaining. I thought that, like I said, the Rogan Andrews match, that was a I thought it was a great match, man. I thought it was a great match. Good dynamic with those two kids, and the tag was good, and that's what made me think about placement. With the Salmon Festival thing, with the contract signing and that. So yeah, it was a busy weekend of wrestling, man. Busy weekend of wrestling. Here we are on the podcast. Now I got to train from 9 in the morning to 2 o'clock. And then I got to come home and I got to go up to Loma Rica, the old stomping grounds, to speak at 7 for a meeting up there. And then I got to get up tomorrow and start this process all over again for this weekend. So busy weekend, a lot of learning, even more passionate about this business. And, a shout out to Ugly, a shout out to SPW, a shout out to those guys, man, because, I've used their guys for the prospects and stuff like that. But these kids are getting good, and they're getting good really, really fast.
Right. Well, that's good, man. That's what we're looking for. You do the prospects brand for, specifically for that, right? To try to help develop some of these young guys, to try to not only benefit your card, but, it's going to benefit Northern California as a whole. And, hopefully those guys will make their way up to Reno as well. So everyone will get to benefit from what they're doing. So, yeah, it's definitely a huge help to to get all that stuff get that stuff done, man. Get these guys some experience, and hopefully they are taking the direction and criticism in a good way. They're not defeated by it and say, oh, that part of my match sucked, or these guys think I suck, or whatever. But hopefully they're taking it in a positive. They're learning from what we're doing and talking what we're talking about, and they can make some changes. That's kind of all we expect, right? You've heard Ugly say, don't come ask me to watch your match or ask me to critique you if you're not going to take it seriously and fix something that I talked to you about, right? Don't come back to me the next time and work the exact same type of match, with no changes, and expect me to take you seriously that you want to get better. If you're going to come ask for advice or criticism, make sure you take it to heart and try to fix something that someone critiqued about what you're doing. So that's definitely something that we're looking forward to. That's the reason for this podcast, right? Is because we're trying to help guys get better and understand what's going on. I mean, you just made a subtle comments about the Timothy Rogan match, and I wish we would have sold more, not a whole lot more, but just a small fix that makes things make a little bit more sense. So but yeah, just helping out with those type of things. I mean, I think that's it's super valuable. But like we've said before, sometimes if you're not paying for it, sometimes it doesn't seem valuable for some reason.
Well, it's like one of those that match was so good. It was so good that how do you follow that? And I mean that, like, not trying to, but I mean, we talk about prospects and we talk about that. Yeah, that'd be to think about starting a brand with these types of talent, like the Gator Boys versus the Kuza and Leon of the All Day Crew. I'm putting that tag match on a card. Chase Jackson and Preston Price, I'm also mixing those guys in with those two teams on a card. Rogan versus Andrews, I'm putting that on a card because it was that competitive. They're young. Why do I want to wrestle Rick for 25, 30 minutes, right? Why do I want to wrestle Rick for 25? Because we're old. I want to slow it down. I want to build the pace up of the match. 5 minutes remain in this podcast. That's why I want to establish myself so I can slow this shit down because I can't do what those kids did anymore. I'll be honest with you. I can't. What Andrews and Rogan did, if I did that now at almost 44, I'm going to be sore for a week. I really am going to be sore for a week. And the truth of the matter is, man, it's like, God, man, you just see the young man's game. So when you're watching these young kids, Ethan, him and Dickie, they wrestled 40 to 45 minutes in 3 matches over the weekend. 3 matches in 2 days. They literally finished wrestling at 2 o'clock, and by 7 o'clock, they were doing it again. No, thank you. I'm tired from just driving the ring down there and promoting the event and stuff like that. Now we're going to another one. I don't got that in me anymore, man. I know you don't. I know Ugly don't. Rick don't. And if we do try to pull off something like that, we are not going to feel good the next day. So
Right.
the future of professional wrestling here it's good. Between what you're doing, I'm doing, Ugly, Samurai, Scoot, Oliver John, what's going down at West Coast Pro, the eyes that we have, whether you're coming out of Next Level or any of these places, the eyes that are on what's going on, these kids are going to be fine, man. And we're going to have plenty of guys to book, and there's going to be a big flux coming out of Northern California. It's going to be this. I believe this is the next East Coast, whatever, hotbed of sending people that way. We're finally getting our just due. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, and it's what we've been trying to do for years now is get that right. Everybody goes, oh, the West Coast, you'll never get out of there. You got to move away from there to get seen, all this stuff. So, hopefully that's making a little bit of a change. Obviously, I feel like it's just been the few and far between. You get the Timothy Thatcher, you get the Bonsai Bruce, you get Carl Fredericks, Cage. You had the one guy from SPW that got signed for a little bit and then came back, and I feel like that guy's not even wrestling anymore. So I don't know, man. It's just I guess we'll kind of see, man. What's your drive? How much work are you willing to put in? How much critique will you take? Because you have a lot of guys with a lot of knowledge that are trying to help you out. And if you're not willing to take the advice and criticism, then you're probably not going to make it to that level. But the goal is that we do have people that are interested in making it to the next level and taking criticism and taking it seriously and making changes to their work, and hopefully that is a recipe for success.
Yeah, definitely. The ring work is getting better for sure. There's still production. There's still better business. There's still cameras, and there's a lot to be desired around the ring, on the floor, and everywhere else in the aspect of running a company. But what I'm seeing an improvement from the young guys here, man. Shout out to them all, man. I still feel the best match of the weekend, and not even trying to put my own company over, was Manny Roa versus Johnny Fuego. Manny's bumping him around so much and dumping him on his head, safely, but Manny looked like he was a fucking in Mario Kart. You know what I mean? Hitting the blue thunder bomb, boing, boom, boom. Like that's how hard he was hitting the mat with this kid. And yeah, so I mean, I thought Rogan versus Andrews was great. Manny versus Fuego, great. Two completely different matches, man. Two completely different matches. So I saw a lot of good stuff this weekend. And you know what? For everybody out there working hard, Keep doing it. We're going over. Hit that subscribe button for us, please.